Hey, good day, everyone. As you can see, previous to this video on my timeline here, I posted, two things. One about the protests in France against, the ridiculous fuel prices, and the other about, perhaps that the Pentagon and certain things are shut down. Now, I put those up there, and for an hour or so for those of you that looked at, to observe it, to look at this, what is going on. Um, and let me say, we are and you are most powerful when you are peaceful, no aggression whatsoever, but you stand adamant in your light. And it's very important for each to do as they feel and as it resonates to support the good values in these movements, but do not support, aggression. And that is so important as well. You wish to keep your movements going forward as pure to the most purest extent because you are, let's say, in your protest or whatever you do, you are a peer and you are leading the example, but you are showing your strengths by not being aggressive in any way. But what you are also doing is these are clear indications. If you wish to look at, let's say, the France protest for a few moments, uh, how many of you were aware that that protest was going to occur? Uh, Perhaps some of you were, but on the surface here, I had no inkling that it was forming. But nevertheless, it's very impressive. But what it shows is that behind the scenes, much is going on, and that the support from the people, from the masses are there. I mean, you look at the size of that protest. I believe it was 124,000 people. Actually, that is very impressive. Those are the ones that had the courage to go forward. But also, as you know and you feel, there were many others that were considering it as well and observing it, even because they did not participate. It does not mean they support it. And it would be, uh, you know, pretty naive to even think that it was only 124,000 people in France that is against, the fuel increases. If you were to go on the street and do a poll, what you would find is most likely 99% of the people polled were against it. So very quickly, what you see is, the masses are entirely fed up and they will not support things as they were in the old. And it's growing every day. Your protests are growing. So, you know, let me say as well, some of you may say many aren't awakened, but let me tell you that the majority are awakened to the degree sufficient enough to create very rapid change here, and it is occurring. So I'm very impressed to, see these protests. And perhaps I looked at it briefly. There was a little bit of violence, but it seems like, not taking really sides on this. It seems like the police use some sort of force, which, out of their fear and trying to keep the old fear-based regimes intact, actually, but nevertheless, very indicative of, what is happening in this most auspicious divine time. So very great. With the other thing, about the Pentagon and the servers and those sort of things shut down, from that intel, right from here without connecting to counsel and God and Father, I cannot validate that it is true. But nevertheless, it can be true, on different timelines, and that's how this works. But if it is valid, in this now, as you can see, it's very significant. But with that post as well, it's showing you other facets globally that are working on so many things, in freeing up, let's say, some of the accounts for humanity to, um, let's say, alleviate the financial suppression. So, there are many groups that perhaps many of you are unaware of. I know I'm aware of many because I needed to be informed of what's happening on the planet. So I am briefed in many things, and I can assure you that there are many alternative currencies, that have been worked on, and in the past recent years, and that I also feel at this time, without checking on their current status, that they also are ready to be implemented. Let's say if there's a currency collapse or a financial collapse, these things are all set to go, and they are very real. And I have personally been in touch, with some of the people that are behind these. So it is very real. So, again, just to let you know that there is so much going on behind the scenes, that it's not imagination, it's not fantasy, it's not wishful thinking, that it is real. But also you must use your discretion in what's put out there, because in the past, by the remnants of the dark resistance, they do put out confusing things to distort and also lead you astray sometimes. So the best thing is, follow the resonation in your heart, and also use your discernment. Anything that kind of feels like, well, you don't know, is it right or not? Well, just remain neutral with that until you perhaps get more dots that verify that it is truth. You don't wish to be jumping out and supporting something that may be a sort of a trickery, if you will. So use your discernment and your resonation with that. Hey, Jamie, good to see you, brother. Um, so, having said that, keep with it, and I strongly encourage all of you to support of the good values, support the virtue of any of these forward movements, if you will, to the degree that resonates with you, and to keep them going forth, because we we all know that it's truth that so many are awakening, and we also know that so many are ready as well. But with the past, if you go and you look at one that that is not fully awakened, that they're within the system, and they feel things are not right, and they got to get up, go to their 9 to 5 job every day to make money, come home, go to sleep, come home, have something to eat, go to sleep, get up, go back into the monotony every day. These ones, even though they're not awake, they are definitely feeling it, how it's not right. But what is happening, they are not yet, but many of them are, they do not yet fully know that they have the option, and they think that they must, remain part of the society, and be controlled like that, and remain into the monotonous loop of society. So, where you guys come in, and all of us, as we've been doing, and this is a divine group effort, more so, let's say since 2012, has been growing. The part of what you do is, to any of those open that are awakening, you say, hey, yes, you do have an option. Here's what's going on, that over here, we have millions upon millions that are awakened and, are doing the good things about it. So this is here. And, this is the government and the matrix and the news and what's dictating to a public and conditioning to them, oh, okay, we got economics, we're going to grow the economy and all this. But what you say is that, this is the matrix that, hey, you now have a choice. You do not have to stay here. So there is a direction. And this direction is huge. And, you can give them every respect of the the beautiful alternative option, and to what they're open to receive on that. And we don't impose, because it's not part of us, to run out in the street and impose what is happening on anyone. Divinely, it's set up for them, to come to you or be placed in an area where you're able to start to share and tell them, no, there are very real options. They are set up like, the other currencies, whatever you choose to deliver to them. But, also to let them know that there is something very big happening, and that no, they do not have to remain in these monotonous lifestyles within the matrix, within, the old monotony, the mundane, that there is the very real choice here. And again, what is so magical and what validates what is happening is that once they awaken to it, just like you're introduced to the divine magic, and some of these magical things, what you are showing are so profound that it comes from a higher good power. So, it's given to each of them directly. So, it cuts out the confusion, but it also shows them that it's very real, and that they're not being tricked, and, that it's morally and ethically correct, and it has all the virtuous values intact. And I mean, that's what we want. So very quickly, when they have these magical, profound experiences, it's confirmed to their self. They don't need to read something or need someone else to tell them. Very quickly they say, okay, yes, God is real. I'm a divine one, but I'm part of God. And, hey, we're going to do this, and we need to create the change. And, they're introduced to their gifts that they start utilizing themselves, and they see how they work, to the degree of the level where they're at in their development and the ascension. But again, it's all so very, very real. And so we don't need to accreditate ourselves. We do not need to verify or validate ourselves. We do not need to defend ourselves. But what's so important is that, we own our divinity and put ourselves out there at this time. So be your beacons of light and be there for the others. And this is what is needed right in this now, but also in these very exciting, very near futures. Every day you look at, today is Sunday, look at Monday. Many more are going to be awakening, and they need to have whatever you can give them, and they'll be there for that. So it's very important. I know most of you understand that, but again, I'm reiterating this because it is time. It's time now, so it needs to be refreshed, and that's why I'm bringing it up. And I love you too, Jessica. But every one of you has been prepared to whatever degree you needed to be prepared for these times. And you keep getting stronger, and you keep getting purer, if you will. You become purer, more pure, as you let go of all fear aspects, because they are the anchors. And that's why you've been prepped and taught so diligently and, preached upon, get rid of the fear. If you want to do something for yourself, empower yourself, get rid of the fear. That is the key. And because fear restricts you. So, many of you are coming out of your closets, have been. It's so beautiful to watch, out of your cocoons, emerging with your wings and standing in what you are. And what you are is something much more above the darkness and the darkness that ruled this planet prior to 2012. So yes, you are invincible. Many of you know it. And, many of you also were targets, and that's another story. And I do wish that someone will do an interview with me uh, on that subject of, ones that were personally targeted by the dark. Um, I do wish to get into that. I did have one set up, and uh, I thought we would do it, a few weeks ago, but it didn't materialize because, divine timing, things were not right. But I feel now that it's important to get that out and to shed some more light on that. And because really what we wish to do is some of those that were targeted and, perhaps still a little bit targeted, uh, we want them coming forward because they are very powerful divine beings. And, that's why they were targeted by the dark. But uh, they're always protected. But, let's say they're in intense training when they're targeted by the dark to be prepared for this now as well. So when these ones begin coming out and owning their divinity, you're going to see it reflected globally on these lower timelines there. It's the magnificent impact as each one comes out. And they are so powerful. And I know I am given that, there are, let's say, a few, perhaps, 7 that are ready to come out here very short. No, eight that are ready to come out here very shortly. That when they come out, they're going to have a lot of their divine prowess intact. It very abruptly, it's going to be given to them as soon as they, master the largest aspect of fear in terror. So once they master that, they will be coming forward here and they'll be joining the collective. And many of you also know that, as the more wakes up and joins this collective, you just look around you how things are happening so rapidly now in good ways. Again, that is your verification that this is true, and you're seeing the immediate change in so many areas. So I just wanted to touch on this and put it out, the importance of this now and these times, and to not doubt nor question yourself in any way, and to stand in your divinity. Let nothing restrict you. That is where your prowess is, and that's where you affect everything upon the surface there. The butterfly effect is, perhaps much huger than that old, let's say, cliche or analogy. Perhaps we'll change that butterfly to a huge angel effect, because that's what it is with a huge wingspan. Typically you look at a butterfly with perhaps, a 2, 3, 4-inch wingspan. What you now have is an angel like you here with a wingspan of perhaps, 14 feet. So you can see that, yeah, the ripples are much bigger what you can create. Anyways, you get the picture, and you know what I'm saying in respect to that. So very amazing times. And again, I'm very busy and so much is happening here. I'm in the Vancouver area and meeting with on an individual basis, mostly those that gathered at our gathering. There were a couple other meetings with ones that did not gather at that, but all is significant in this now. And what I'm seeing, as an overall perspective, what I'm some of the feedback from the ones that attended the gathering, I am seeing good, favorable sparks of things happening around them as well. So it's been heightened, and they've all been enhanced. And there's a sharing of gifts and energy at that gathering that there was so much happening on the energetic level that many were oblivious to actually what was happening. And you're given after the gathering, then they began to recognize that they did change in good ways within, and also they've been more empowered. But also more than that, they could feel the high vibration, and everyone that I've come into contact with is advancing as a result of that, and are doing good, and their vibrations is beautiful and so much higher because part of what I am is that I monitor the vibration on the Gaia whole level, but I also individually monitor it because it's indicative of the development. But not only that, also where we are a collective, if I monitor a higher vibration in one, then it's generally throughout most of the collective. So I can use, just by engaging with one, I can use it as a gauge to know what is happening, through the collective as well. So, and it is, it's all there, and no one can tell you what you are. No one can tell you what to do. You get your connection with your divinity, and that connection with God, and the collective. That is your guidance, and that's what makes this so unique and so powerful as well, because we bypass, by doing that, we bypass all confusion that was deliberately put into religions and secret societies and all of that. We don't need nothing written. When you connect with your divinity and with God, you receive your new good stuff. And the stuff, that was on the planet is prior to 2011, for the most part, it no longer serves, and it's not what is the truth. But since 2012, it's becoming more pronounced into the timelines and integrated what the real truth is. And this is here for the awakening, and many are realizing it and are resonating with it, and they know it. And gee, when I get on here, I just keep talking and talking. But very importantly, some of you, if you wish, in Isaiah, in the Testament, in the Hebrew Bible, uh, Isaiah 45, chapter 45, verse 7, where it speaks there about, and I thank my blood cousin Marshall for this. He sent it, so thank you. I love you, Marshall. He sent, just that to me to look at. If any of you are to look at that again, it's Isaiah chapter 45, verse 7, where it says that God makes evil, and if you read it, you'll see how that's got to go. That is not correct. God does not make evil, and he does not support it, and he does not, let's say, make the darkness to the respect of the influence that it had on the planet. And actually, God did not make the darkness. The darkness was made by their own choice when they split off from source and wanted to create something different that is not what we are. And so, and through the courses of the timelines, they have written many things within your scriptures and the Bibles, but as you know, it's all distorted. And with Catholicism, and I'll come right out and target them, is that they tried to keep ones within that religion, that oh, if you're bad, you go to the fires of hell. And you know, what they did is made Satan, what they tried to do was make Satan, the devil, and hell a very real thing, with that, you know, that no one had control over that. But that is not correct. It was to keep you in a state of suppression, and perhaps even showing you that, you know, that you didn't have a choice. But as you know, this runs very deep, what they tried to do. But nevertheless, within every religion, there have been seeds of good things. So uh, but you only take what is good out of that, because, you know, with the intent within a lot of these religions, they would put good things in there to trick you, to make you believe that the things that were not correct were also truth. So you use your discernment features with that. And, you know, we take the values from all things. So heaven said, you know, the clues are within all religions, but it is very simple. Just be totally virtuous, be totally moral and ethic in everything that you do. These are the simple rules, and do not physically harm another. You know, it's so simple, and love all, and that's what we are. So, you know, anything that is not compatible with that or does not support that, well then, no, it is not supported divinely at this time, and it will collapse, as you've seen. Catholic Church, governments, everything, you know, because it's not divinely supported. The energetics of what it was foundationed on is deceit, and you know, deception and incorrect things. So that's why it's imploding. You cannot have anything into our new 5D timelines that the foundation is not built on integrity and truth and for the good of all. And I can assure you, as you know, governments, religions, all of this is not. And you know, in some of the let's say Asian and Southeast Asian religions, when you look at the suppression of the feminine, what they had, you know, in their beliefs, no, that and the patriarchal rule, that is not correct, and we know this, and you know, actually, that is also being broken because it was a suppression, and no, male and female are equal, and that's the way it should be, and so, without getting into those things, I will let you go, and I love you all. And what I will do is speak with you perhaps in the near future. Stay tuned to you know, whatever you stay tuned to keep informed, updated on what's going on. But also, it's good not to spend all of your time on Facebook and things. You know, go on quickly if you wish to observe some things for, you know, a few hours, whatever it takes. I know it can be lengthy, but I strongly suggest your importance of getting together, you know, in the physical meetings and your gatherings, and also meeting with others. You've been like on Facebook here and kind of like a training in a school, but you are now well endowed and prepared, you know, to go out and be the teachers, but also be, you know, the ones that are awakening can come to. So if you're a recluse on the computer and on your phone all day, you're actually not engaging with the ones that really need you out there. So I suggest to give that some thought. And you know, on your friends example here on Facebook, it's your friends list is comprised of your divine comrades. You know, most of them don't really need the assistance that you can provide at this time, because you're all the same, right? You know, on here. So what you need to do, when you, at your discretion and when it feels right, get out and be out there like a lighthouse, you know, for the public. Just go and for example, you know, go into a park, into a bare spot, and just stand there, raise your vibration, and be your beacon of light, and they may slowly come to you and say, hey, what's going on, you know, and these are your cues. So metaphorically, you know, be the light, stand in what you are. So so keep going, and have no doubt and no fear at these most auspicious times. If you have doubt and fear, prove it to yourself, and test it by standing in your light and your courage, and watch how everything before you changes in more favorable and more magical ways, you know. Get your own confirmations on this. That's so important. So if you got any doubt, you know, just have the courage to step forward and test it so that you can get rid of that doubt. Because once you step forward and you see the results, you believe it for yourself, you know that yes, you are very powerful with every little bit of fear you let go of. So cool. Well, gotta go. uh all kinds of winks there from both eyes because there's so much going on. And a double peace sign, and you know, our signs to connect with our ships, and and all of that, and all the kisses, and I love you, love and light, and woo, let's watch every moment here with how this has rapidly come to fruition. Bye now.